What happens inside your body the moment you feel shame? There's a moment almost every human being has experienced. You say the wrong thing in front of a room full of people, or you do something and suddenly everyone is looking at you. And in that fraction of a second, before you even have a chance to think, your body has already reacted. Your face goes hot, your chest feels heavy, your shoulders drop. You want to disappear. That is not weakness. That is not being dramatic. That is one of the most complex biological reactions scientists have ever studied. And for hundreds of years, no one truly understood why the human body responds that way. Until now. When you feel shame, your brain does not process it as an ordinary emotion. Research from UCLA using fMRI, a machine that records brain activity in real time, revealed something that genuinely surprised neuroscientists. Shame activates two specific regions of the brain, the anterior cingulate cortex and the insula, the exact same two regions that light up when you experience physical pain. Not a metaphor, not a figure of speech. Neurologically, shame and the pain of a broken bone are processed through nearly identical pathways in the human brain, which means when someone tells you your words hurt me, from a purely biological standpoint, that is not an exaggeration. That is an accurate description. But why did the human body evolve this way in the first place? To answer that, we have to go back about 200,000 years. Picture a human being on the open savanna. No grocery stores, no hospitals, no police. The only thing keeping them alive was the group. A group that hunted together, a group that shared food, a group that protected each other from predators. Being expelled from the group was not just humiliating. Being expelled from the group meant death. And the human brain learned that lesson across thousands of generations. So the body developed an alarm, an internal signal that fires every time you do something that risks getting you cast out from the people around you. That signal is shame. Now, go back to that moment when your face suddenly turns red. That is not weakness. That is one of the most sophisticated mechanisms in the entire history of human evolution. Charles Darwin, in his book, The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals, called blushing the most peculiar and the most human of all expressions. No other animal on Earth blushes from shame, only humans. And there is a very specific biological reason for that. When the brain detects a social threat, meaning the risk of being judged negatively by others, it sends a signal to the autonomic nervous system. Within milliseconds, the capillary blood vessels in the face dilate. More blood flows toward the surface of the skin, and your face turns red. Researchers at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands found that people who blush are rated as significantly more trustworthy by observers than people who do not blush in the same situation, which means a red face is not a sign of weakness. It is a signal to the group that you acknowledge your mistake, that you still care about the social norms around you, that you are safe to keep in the group. But that is only the surface. Inside your body, in that same moment, a far deeper chain of reactions is already underway. The adrenal glands release cortisol, the stress hormone, into the bloodstream. Heart rate increases. The muscles in your shoulders and neck tighten. Your body automatically folds inward, shoulders down, head lowered. That posture is not a habit. It is not cultural. Cross-cultural research from the University of California, Berkeley, found that this submission posture, shoulders down, chest caved in, head bowed, appears consistently across every human culture on Earth, including in athletes who were born blind and had never seen another person do it, which means that posture is not learned. It is hardwired into the body from birth. Now, the more important question: what happens when the shame does not go away? Acute shame, the kind that rises and then fades, is actually biologically healthy. It's a signal doing exactly what it was designed to do.
But there is another form of shame that is far more dangerous. Scientists call it chronic shame. This is not shame that comes from a single incident. This is a belief embedded deep inside a person that they are fundamentally flawed, unworthy, or not enough. And when shame becomes chronic, its effects on the body begin to look like disease. Research from the University of British Columbia found that individuals with high levels of chronic shame show persistently elevated cortisol levels, even when there is no real threat present. Sustained cortisol suppresses the immune system. It increases systemic inflammation. It physically damages the hippocampus, the region of the brain responsible for memory and emotional regulation. In other words, shame carried across a lifetime literally changes the physical structure of the brain. There is one distinction that is critically misunderstood: the difference between shame and guilt. Neurologically, they are not the same. Guilt says I did something bad. Shame says I am something bad. In fMRI studies, guilt activates regions associated with problem solving and behavioral correction. Shame activates regions associated with existential threat, the same regions that fire when a person believes their life is in danger. That's why guilt tends to push people toward repairing something, and shame tends to push people toward hiding. The most remarkable finding in all of this research is this: humans are the only species on Earth that can feel shame about things that have not happened yet, about possibilities, about the future, about what someone else might think of them. The human brain has the capacity to simulate social scenarios and experience shame in response to situations that exist only in its own imagination. This is the dark side of the same ability that allows humans to feel empathy, to plan for the future, and to build civilization. The ability to see yourself through someone else's eyes. And within that ability, shame can become the quietest prison that evolution has ever constructed. Shame was born to save your life in a world where being cast out from the group meant death. But we no longer live in that world, and your body does not know that yet. Every time your face goes hot, every time your shoulders drop and your chest feels heavy, that is not a sign that you are weak. That is a 200,000-year-old evolutionary machine still running exactly as it was designed to run. The only problem is the world it was built for is long gone.